Hello, this is Neil Villarin, and as part of our class SS130 First Aid, I will be demonstrating to you how to administer first aid on the instance that a patient has a heat stroke. So basically, heat stroke itself is the most severe heat-related illness, beginning from the heat rush, the heat exhaustion. A patient can have heat cramps, to which there is this constriction with the muscle due to dehydration, and too much heat of the body. And later on, it can become heat stroke, which can affect the brain, and when get worse, can cause death. So basically, heat stroke itself is when the body is overheating and it can no longer control or regulate its temperature. So it can, at first, excessive sweating cause a dehydration. Now, when the body cannot regulate or by sweating to reduce the body temperature, as the body is dehydrated, it now causes disruption to the natural balance of the body, including some constriction with the muscle, that is the cramps that becomes worst. And this heat stroke itself is very common to different ages, be it infant, also to our elderlies, and especially to the athletes that has a very strenuous physical activities under the scorching sun, and those that are working under the heat of the sun, just like construction workers and drivers that doesn't have protection up into their head. And also, heat stroke has multiple signs that few of these indicate heat stroke itself. So it can be flush color of the skin, uh, faintness of the patient, also dizziness, headache. It can also be high fever or high temperature itself. The the abnormal heartbeat, very rapid heartbeat of the patient, and one of the few worst phase of heat stroke itself is unconsciousness. So now let me show to you. We have a patient that has been playing beach volleyball and has about 18 to 21 year old, and instantaneously he felt dizzy and now is lying on the floor. Now let me show to you how to administer first aid to a patient that seemingly has heat stroke. And now we have here our patient that is lying on the floor, and also that now the patient is lying on the floor once again, and he has played beach volleyball for about 2 hours and under the very strenuous heat of the sun. So the first thing that we should do is that since the primary concern about the heat stroke patient, first we should check the patient now. Sis, okay lang ka? The patient now is unconscious, and similarly that he is having this strange color with himself, and this is a faintness as one of the signs of heat stroke. Indeed, we can verify that the patient now has a heat stroke. So the first thing that we should do, since the patient is unconscious, we will try to mend the main concern of heat stroke, which is the heat itself, the temperature of the patient. So we will be putting the patient on a shady spot to which there are no more sunlight hitting him. So now, we already transferred the patient on a shady spot, on a cool place. We will then do is to assure that the patient will not experience shock. So we will be elevating his or her legs to induce using the gravity to assure the consistent blood flow towards the main organs of the body, which is the brain and the heart. A small chair will do. Now, upon raising the leg, try to assist it as much as possible. The higher, the better. And now, upon assessing, the patient has a very closed, tight clothing. So we will try to remove that in order to induce breathability and coolness of the body. Now, the patient's jacket is already open. Now, since the patient is unconscious, there is no way that we can hydrate him, or supposedly we should be giving him or her some hydration to replenish the loss of body fluids. And so we will be skipping that and reassuring the primary concern of the instance, which is the body heat of the patient. So now we can try to ask the people around us to get some ice, and if not possible, cloth, and make it wet. On putting the cloth, we should secure areas of the body that has big muscle. That is the neck, the armpit, and the groin part. Also, our sweat glands are concentrated in the face, armpit, and groin part that has sweat glands, and the concentration of receptors there are very much, and therefore, when we put coolant there, it will be much more beneficial to our patient. So I will be putting, relax lang nila ha, okay lang ni? The head and the hand, and continuously check the temperature of the patient using a thermometer. We should place a thermometer on the armpits of the patient and see if it lowers down to 36 degrees Celsius. Now, if the patient temperature doesn't lower down, we can extend producing coolant to our patient, and by that means, we can get a blanket or a bigger towel, place it into the body of the patient, and pour water into it to induce cooling sensation for the patient. Now the patient is responding to the coolness of the water. We can assume that the patient is feeling better right now. So we can try to, if it gets still on the same level, we can get an ice. Since we are on the beach, it is uncommon, but we are able to get a few ice here. We will be placing that to the neck of the patient, which has more blood vessels, and thus we can secure a better cooling sensation to lower down the temperature of the patient. Now, we are constantly checking the temperature of the patient, and we can add more water to make the cooling sensation faster. Be it a reminder to all of us that heat stroke is an emergency. So if the patient doesn't respond, we should call 911 whatever happens. So yeah, that was all, and thank you. Basahan ko.